the opportunity we can take to restructure and reverse the damaging effect of the modern day lifestyle. And that is in a specific position on your back using a pill a very specific way. And not that you have to stay in that position all night long, but you need to start with the end in mind. So you want to give your body the best chance for not tossing and turning.
Today's guest is Dr. Peter Martone, a chiropractor who specializes in helping people get great sleep to improve their energy and heal chronic pain. Dr. Martone invented a specific pillow called the neck nest that restores curvature to the spine overnight. And today he shares his best tips about the importance of sleep posture for health and longevity.
I reviewed 3,000 x-rays and found that the problem wasn't in my back, it was in my neck because of this sleeping position that I had, and I had this forward head carriage. I started rolling up towels and putting them under my neck, my hips alive, and then now I never had back pain again.
Dr. Peter Martone, welcome to the podcast, my friend. We're so happy to have you here.
Thanks. It's great, and this is take two because I blew up my webcam last time, so let's see how it goes.
So I think it's appropriate now to share the story because you mentioned that. So we tried to do this podcast recording last week, and as Dr. Martone was demonstrating something important that we're going to talk about in just a little bit relating to sleep position, he built up a lot of static on his body. And when we touched his webcam, it literally like shorted out, big shock, and the webcam blew up. So this is literally part two of this conversation.
Let's do it. It's meant to be.
Okay. Well, I want to ask you a very direct question. I mean, you're a man who specializes in helping people sleep, and that sleep is the key to optimum health. I think a lot of people know some of the science of why sleep's good, but I think one of the more compelling things you talk about is that there's a proper way to sleep. And most people are sleeping improperly, and this causes big problems. So like positionally, talk to us about the best way to sleep.
Well, when you look at how the body maintains itself with gravity, right? That gravity works on our body. It's a force that works on our body 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. It never stops working. And our body is in two positions. It's either vertical, right, for 2/3 of our life, or horizontal, 1/3 of our life. So when you're looking at your body structure, we're on computers all day long, we're texting all day long, and after taking thousands and tens of thousands of x-rays on people, we see that everybody has this forward head carriage. Mm-hmm. And when you have that forward head carriage and then you fall asleep, most people fall asleep in their beds to feel protected. That's reinforcing that forward head carriage. So then when we start walking, our body structure adjusts to our head position. So at night, most people understand in order to get a great night's, we want a good night's sleep because we want to rest and we want our body to repair. But nobody talks about alignment when they sleep. And the opportunity that we have when we're in a sense doing nothing for 1/3 of our life, the opportunity we can take to restructure and reverse the damaging effect of the modern day lifestyle. And that is in a specific position on your back using a pill a very specific way. And not that you have to stay in that position all night long, but you need to start with the end in mind. So you want to give your body the best chance for not tossing and turning.
Mm-hmm. That's really interesting because I've never actually had that thought that sleep can be a useful time for us to literally restructure our bodies with proper posture patterns, and many of us are just squandering it. And worse than squandering it, we're in weird positions that sometimes cause our body to be in pain. And I know this is time for people to know that you have a very specific pillow that you developed called the neck nest that creates the proper curvature in the spine. So let's keep on deconstructing this optimum sleep position. Run us through, and then obviously talk about how this pillow you developed helps create the right kind of structure in the spine.
Well, the body tosses and turns. The average person, I don't know if I said it, but will toss and turn 20 to 40 times a night. So that's because of one of three reasons. First, you're uncomfortable, right? The body's in pain. 2, the body doesn't feel safe. Or 3, because of temperature regulation. You're running too hot. So if we know that the body is in pain, which is the main reason we toss and turn, most people say, oh, I sleep on my right side. All right, you sleep on your right side. So what I want you to do is I want you to take the movie test. Try to watch a 2-hour movie in the position that you fall asleep in without turning. Can't do it because you're falling asleep in a position that's not sustainable because your weight is not distributed over the greatest surface area. So when I fall asleep, you can put a glass of water on my chest and it will still be there when I wake up. And I don't toss and turn. Why is that? Because my body is in a neutral position where the weight is distributed over the greatest surface area. And I'm using the laws of physics and gravity to be able to put myself into a specific position where there are no pain points. And if there are no pain points, one of the other issues that interfere with people's ability to get good quality of sleep is because you toss and turn, because the body's in pain and then it wakes you up and then it moves to the other side. Then it's in pain, then it wakes you up and then you move to the other side. And you do that all night long. But think about being able to put yourself into a position where your weight is distributed over the greatest surface area and you're actually using the weight of your head off the back of the end of a pillow to slightly and gently stretch in a curve into your neck. And that is why I designed the neck nest. I had herniated my disc. I was a mountain biker. I was a rock climber. I always had back pain, and I always attributed my back pain to just, being an athlete. And, as a chiropractor, I'm helping people with back pain. And I myself had back pain, and then I herniated my disc. I found myself in an emergency room hooked up on Dilaudid with a blown disc. And I reviewed 3,000 x-rays and found that the problem wasn't in my back, it was in my neck because of this sleeping position that I had. And then I was, on people, I'm on a computer, and I had this forward head carriage. So when I designed that, I started rolling up towels and putting them under my neck to try to get that neck back. And then if I was able to get that neck back, what happens is it gets rid of what's called the psoas major muscle spasm, and it's the only muscle attaches directly to a disc. My hips aligned, and then, hence, now I never had back pain again. So we developed the neck nest, but that is a pillow that's designed to go under your neck, and then your neck, your head hangs off the back of it as like a weight to be able to create slight distraction.
Yeah, and there was something subtle in there that you said that I want to make sure people catch. We all have the forward head carriage from the bad posture during the day and probably the poor sleeping and the phones and all that stuff. And then when you said when the neck is in flexion, the cervical neck, the psoas gets tight in the lumbars. Can we speak into that a little bit more? Because that seemed like it was a pretty pivotal connection between the psoas and the cervical neck flexors that not enough people hear about.
Well, actually, that theory never existed until I came up with it. Because when I was in school, I remember a teacher saying, and I actually just spoke to somebody about this the other day. They said, the only muscle in the human body that attaches directly to a disc is the psoas major. I looked at that point for research, like why would a muscle attach to a disc? Never even thought about it again. So when people would come into my practice, fast forward, to first year, 10 years, 15 years, and I'm adjusting, I would always work on somebody's QL, which is called your quadratus lumborum. It's the paraspinals, it's the muscles in the lower back that are always tight, that and your piriformis. Yeah. So we're hammering piriformis, we're hammering quadratus lumborum, because those muscles were always tight. So then when I herniated my own disc, and I'm sitting in the emergency room, I had to start thinking differently. I had to say, how did it come to this? So then I started reviewing x-rays to try to figure something out. So I came up with a pattern. When somebody loses that forward head posture due to the law, which is called the writing reflex, body posture adjusts to head position, it innervates the psoas, and the psoas is what twists the spine, not the quadratus lumborum. And the psoas twists the spine to take pressure off of what's called the dura mater. So As the head comes forward, the psoas twists.
How does it twist? Like, is it a right psoas or left psoas? Is there one that twists more than the other?
Yeah. So if the head comes forward, it usually leans.
Yeah.
As the head leans, the body's going to twist opposite way. So you have to understand, if I go this way, the body doesn't want me to fall over, so it's going to throw the hip off to center the gravity.
I'm going to be honest with you. I have this pattern. Like, I have forward head carriage. I have like slightly to
I can
the
see
right.
it.
I lean in my left side. Like, I'm doing it a little more intentionally, but my left psoas is almost like chronically tight. And I've always thought it's because I use a mouse and I'm on the keyboard. Maybe that's part of it, but I also think like the cervical forward flexion, it's like I can really relate to this feeling my own spine.
And then what you do is you go to your chiropractor, they're like, oh, your leg length's off. Oh, you have a short leg. You have a short right leg. It isn't. It's the pelvis rotation that's adapted to forward head posture. And that is the novel concept that we created when we developed the neck nest, is if we can bring the neck back while we sleep due to Davis's law, which means tissue remolds based on the stresses applied. So it's a law. You can remold tissue. So in Wolff's law, bone remolds based on the stresses applied. So if I can put a slow, gentle stretch over hours while you sleep, we can get structural changes at night while you sleep. You can correct your posture while you sleep. It's crazy. Most people think that they have a weak core. So they work on sit-ups, right? They work on, piriformis and all these exercises. You're just going to have a strong, uninnervated muscle because the brain is innervating the muscle, not you consciously doing it. 99.5% of what we do happens in the subconscious brain. So if you think you can consciously try to balance the muscle structure, you can. It's all being done with the vestibular system. So we need to understand that there are imbalances, but it's all neurology, not muscle tone. So you fix the muscle tone by re-innervating that, and that you do with proprioceptive exercises and stretching that neck back when you sleep.
Mm-hmm. So for people to really get a good visual of this, because I know some people are listening and some people might be watching this if they're on YouTube, like, can you describe in words what the neck nest is like and what the pillow structure looks like and how it's different from a regular standard pillow that people might do?
Yeah, I'm gonna try to do this again like we did last time. I'm gonna unshock my hands. I just got a shock. Imagine that. So I'm gonna show, and then I'm going to try. Hold on, let me touch things. Good. See, perfect. Don't let me touch that camera when I get off of this bed. All right. So the one thing that is very important to understand, and it's a law in the body. If you don't use it, you lose it. Which means anytime you support the body, you're going to make what you're supporting weaker. Why not? Arch support, you put your foot in the sneaker, you're destroying your arch. Back support, wrist support. Anytime you use a support, you take a supplement support for the adrenals, you're going to make that weaker anytime you support the body. Because if the body doesn't need it, you're going to lose it. So when you use a pillow, you do not want to support the head. Because remember, gravity is pulling down. So if I support the head, you're going to lose the structure of your spine. So if you support the cervical curve, you need to make sure there's some sort of stress applied to be able to stretch the curve back into the neck. And the neck nest is designed to use the head off of the back of the neck nest so that we're gently stretching a curve in. Most cervical supports, most cervical pillows, they'll support the cervical curve while supporting the head. And that's a problem. You support both of them, the gravity is just destroying the arch. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does. So basically, in my words for everyone listening, when we're saying cervical arch, that's the curve in the neck, and you don't want to support like the weight of the back of the head. You would just want to have support strictly underneath the curve of the neck itself, and then the head hangs off the back of the pillow.
Right. So yeah, just like that. Right. That's how I would do it. Mm-hmm. I would put something under my neck, and then let my head go off of the back of the neck there. See how it's not touching the bed?
Yeah.
So I have the neck nest under my neck,
mm-hmm.
and because of the type of fill, it compresses, and then it slightly distracts. And then what this is doing is the weight of my head is gently stretching an arch into my neck, and you can't even feel it, which is with the design. And notice the neck nest isn't flat, where your head's sitting on the back of it. It's angled, and then your head's up of the back of it.
Yeah, that's awesome. Really cool. And so what if someone who's listening to this right now and they're like, man, I'm just like I'm a side sleeper, I'm a belly sleeper. Like, how do I go from knowing that I'm not sleeping properly to starting to sleep in a more healthy position?
That's awesome. That's a great question, because when we were taught, when I was a young kid, I lived in Malden, Massachusetts. My bed was in the front of the house on a busy street. There was a bus stop, and it was up against a window. So I was always told to go to sleep. We've never taught how to sleep. So we put ourselves to sleep. As a kid, I always thought I was going to get kidnapped. So what do? I curl up in a ball, and I put pillows all around me to feel what? Not comfortable. You think you feel comfortable, but you're feeling protected. So when you feel safe and you create a safe environment to sleep in, your body's going to fall asleep. So we're craving safety when we fall asleep, not even knowing it, right? That's what the subconscious brain wants. So when somebody sleeps on their side or on their stomach, and then they go to sleep on their back, they're going to feel exposed. They're going to feel unsafe. So there are different ways to be able to create this safe environment on your back. But the way that I tell people to think about starting is the position I just put you in. You only need to do that 1 hour a night. So you do it 1 hour a night, 7 days is 7 hours a week. Your neck is in distraction. 49 hours, over a month of cervical distraction. So it builds up, even if you just focus on 1 hour a night. But if you are a side or a stomach sleeper, you crave that protection. So one thing that you can do, which we teach our clients, is wear a sleep mask. Because when you put pressure against your eyeballs, that stimulates what's called the parasympathetic nervous system, which is that protective nervous system. So you have two nervous systems that are at play when you sleep, and you have the survival systems, and then you have the thrive systems. Thrive systems are where your body grows and develops. That's the parasympathetic nervous system. So we want to stimulate that nervous system to crave protection while we sleep. So you use pressure over your eyes, you put pillows over your head, you put pillows on your chest, you create this like cocoon to be able to sleep in, and that pressure with those pillows and pressure on your forehead creates safety.
It makes sense. Like pressure, like that's why babies do well with weighted blankets, pillow on the head or in forehead. But also just having something I've found, like if you're going to be sleeping on your back, you need a pillow that keeps your head in good position. Obviously, I have a neck nest and I love it. And I have been using it properly since our last discussion. And it's really cool to feel like the cervical distraction, the lengthening of the cervical spine, right, when you be on it. But if you don't have the right pillow, I think you're kind of like, you're out of luck, because then you just put your head to one side and that's uncomfortable and you're going to be moving. Is that fair to say? Like you need the right gadgets for back sleeping?
Yeah, so you have to think about a pillow defined as a support for your head. Yeah. So pillows in general, they don't work. And we're not talking about back sleeping. We're talking about a corrective sleeping position. So a corrective sleeping position, it's not just good enough to sleep on your back, because most people, when they sleep on their back, they just use a regular pillow, right? And they put it under their head, and it still does this. It drops their chin down, which closes down their airway and makes them snore on their back, right? So if you put a neck nest under your neck, your airway opens up, so you're going to be less likely to snore while you're on your back, because you're opening up the airway, because that chin isn't dropping down.
Is this fine for kids too? Like parents should be putting their kids in these? I mean, obviously it's human sleeping position, so I imagine it's yes, but like what do you do with kids, like if you want to help them sleep better?
So a child, let's say in their teenage years, right? So 12, 13, 14, good neck nest can be used. Other than that, really, really, really small pillow, right? Thin, because the neck nest is, it compresses down, but the weight of their head isn't heavy enough to hold the fill down.
Yep.
Do you see what I'm saying? So you want at least, an 8-pound head holding the fill down. That's kind of how I designed it. I went through nights and nights and nights of sleepless nights trying to be able to get this fill right. I have a friend, Dr. McCauley, he wants me to create a pillow that uses buckwheat. Can't do it because the fill doesn't respond the way that I want it to. Yes, you can still get cervical support doing that way, but you're going to cause so much discomfort and such an uncomfortable feeling that people are going to just throw it on the ground. So that's why we use this filling.
All right, so let's kind of pivot a little bit out of sleeping position and talk just about like ways to quantify good sleep. I think many people are wearing more wearables now, and I know you're a fan of data and tracking as it relates to sleep. So like, what's important for people to like measure with their sleep or helpful, and like, what are some of the big indicators? What's like how is tech interfacing with sleep?
Yeah, that's a great question. So I love the heart rate variability. So heart rate variability is determining, it basically looks at how your heart beats and tells you which nervous system is at play. Are you sympathetic dominant or are you parasympathetic dominant, And then the balance between the two is what we want to achieve. So when people ask me, they say, oh, doc, how much sleep do I need? I'll say, all right, this is what I want you to do. I want you to get some sort of heart rate variability tracker on. Just don't even pay attention to it, but monitor how you feel. And then picture that day where you're at the gym and you just feel strong, you have clarity, you feel really well rested, and see what your HRV reading is that day compared to other days. Then you want to try to improve that by 10 to 20%.
Mm-hmm.
And so most people, I'm in bed 9.5 hours a night during the winter time, probably getting more like 8 hours, almost 9 hours of sleep a night. During the summertime, I only get 8 hours of sleep a night just because the light is out. You get a lot more vitamin D from the sun. So I like that rest just because I'm I go from the second I wake up to the second I fall asleep, I'm going. In order for me to be able to expend that amount of energy during the day, I need to really plug in at night and make sure that I have great restful, restorative sleep.
What does your evening routine look like, and what does your morning routine look like?
So my morning routine is quick. I like to sleep until the second I get up, and then then I'm in the shower, glass of water. I take a steam every morning. I like to try to take a steam at night too. It all depends on my timing. So most of my mind stuff, meditation, I do a lot of that in the afternoon. And here's the reason why. So when there's, and I think I might have mentioned this, your brain takes in information differently throughout the day. And that kind of follows the circadian rhythm. And where in circadian rhythm can be monitored by core body temperature, right? So that's how they kind of, you can kind of see. So when your core body temperature start to drop, you're going to get a little tired. So right about noon to 1 o'clock, I like to meditate right around that time. And when I meditate, I'm trying to bring my heart rate down, right? So meditation really by design is getting out of your sympathetic state and trying to create this parasympathetic relaxation, right? Just kind of give into it, clear your mind. And then I use a scent every time I meditate, and I put it right underneath my nose. The scent doesn't really matter whether you're using, you're using lavender, citrus, lemon. The scent itself doesn't matter. What matters is that you're using it consistently when you're doing some sort of relaxing technique. Then at night, before I go to bed, or in the steam, I use that same scent, and then it connects that scent to a parasympathetic stimulation.
Yeah, it's interesting. It's like self conditioning. That's really cool with powerful smell. I like it. Really cool. Okay, what do you think the impact is on technology and sleep? So I'll ask you maybe I guess we could talk about light. I'd like to talk about light and EMFs, and what are your take on both those scenarios?
Yeah, so light, obviously, well, not obviously, not a lot. So within my house, we have dim light situation after 6:30, 7 o'clock. It's either candle light, tea lights. The whole house is dim light because I just don't like to have that stimulation of that blue light. Mm-hmm. And then sounds, kind of keep sounds low. And when you're using your phone, a lot of these phones have iris things where they decrease the, you can decrease the blue light emissions. And you can even, as long as you're not being stimulated by your phone, you're playing a mindless game, you're playing pool, or you're cribbage, or you're just doing these things, they can actually relax you. So I am not too opposed to having your phone right before bed, putting it down. But I like the phone in airplane mode, right? The EMFs are kind of a big issue as far as some people are very EMF sensitive, and some people are not. So if you're having an issue sleeping, I highly suggest unplugging anything around you, and then trying to make sure that they sell EMF little testers, and you can go around the house. I have EMF plug-in things that minimize EMFs, so I think it's a big deal as far as some people are sensitive, but not all people in general.
How about any supplements for sleep? Is there anything that you recommend as regular staples, stuff you use periodically? Anything else?
Yeah, so we created a supplement, but I'm really I'm not a big fan of sleep supplements. Now, if you're traveling and you need to take a melatonin to be able to connect, to be able to try to balance out that time zones, most specifically, to balance out that time zone, that's okay. We created a supplement that's called Deep Sleep. What we put in it is GABA, right? Calms the system. We have magnesium in there, zinc that's in there, but something really important that I think is it's not going to help you fall asleep. Deep sleep isn't created to help you fall asleep. It's created to help you get deep sleep. And it has L-arginine in there. And what L-arginine does is it dilates your blood vessels. So one of the things that's super important in order for you to get good, deep, restorative sleep is that you get deep sleep within the first third of your sleep cycle. And in order to get good deep sleep, you need your core body temperature to drop 1 to 2 degrees. And if you dilate your blood vessels, your blood's going to pool out to your hands and your feet. And if you stick your hands and your feet out of your covers, using them as radiators, you're going to be able to cool your body core temperature quickly, and while calming yourself with the magnesium, the zinc, and the GABA. So they're not. It's not specifically a sleep supplement that's going to knock you out. I think you need to do that with some mind control, but it'll help you get good, deep, restorative sleep.
What do you think this is heading over the next 5-10 years? I mean, we look right now in society and we have record rates of anxiety, depression, mental health. People are not sleeping well. What's your prediction on where things go into the future, and in just where the industry of sleep and helping people goes, and maybe just your trajectory of well-being, at least speaking into the United States?
Well, my goal and my mission is to help people get way better sleep, awakening the full potential of a well-rested, aligned you. So really, that's what way better means. It's well-rested, but the alignment aspect of it is what I believe the reason people get horrible sleep is because they're not comfortable. They're not using the right pillows. They think it's the bed, but it's really the positioning. So if I can teach the world that you don't have to be a back sleeper, but you need to start in a specific position So you kind of start with the end in mind. So if we can put people into a specific position and then allow them to be able to get out of their own heads. And one of the main reasons people don't sleep well, yes, they toss and turn all night long, but they can't fall asleep and stay asleep because they don't know how to control their brains. And we all in our society and given the state of where this world's been, especially in the last 3 or 4 years, we all live in fear and we want to control things. And we're taught to live in our conscious brain. And you can't think yourself to sleep. You can't rationalize yourself to sleep. You can't do mathematics to put yourself to sleep because that's the prefrontal cortex. You have to remember yourself to sleep. So you have to be able to try to focus on pulling the energy from the front portion of your brain to where your memories are. And if you can start focusing on remembering and not thinking, and then putting yourself into a safe position, creating a safe environment to put yourself into a neutral sleeping position, people's quality of sleep won't just transform. Their lives will transform because they'll start to improve the function of a specific nerve called your vagus nerve by changing the structure of your curve in your neck, which will improve digestive functioning, immune system health, and then reproductive health.
Nice. And so someone listening to this, if they listen to this point, they're probably pretty interested in improving their sleep past this. Where can people learn more about the neck nest, get that, and of course, connect more with your work?
They can go to drsleepright.com, DRSLEEPRIGHT.com. There you can take a sleep risk assessment, just a quick survey, and it just will teach you where you stand with your sleep habits. And then we'll make some recommendations for you, whether it's, we have some, where you can learn on your own programs to understand how to, fall asleep, how to maintain body's core temperature, how to use your covers, elevated sleeping versus non-elevated sleeping, just certain things. I'm a how guy. So I never got into the sleep industry to help people sleep. I got into the sleep industry to correct your structure while you sleep, which then started transforming people's sleep patterns, which then brought me into the industry. So I'm here because I herniated my own disc. And through 24 years of, I'm a kinesiologist, understanding the study of human biomechanics and how the body lives within its environment, and being a chiropractor and seeing people come in with unresolved pain for years and years and years and be dependent on what I did because I wasn't recognizing that they're just messing it up at night when they were sleeping. So then once I started to transform their sleep, then we started to transform their health.
It's a powerful message. I know you've certainly impacted my life, and the neck nest is now what I use as a pillow. So I'm really glad I could expose you to our Fit Father and Fit Mother communities. And drsleepright.com is the website. And Dr. Peter Martone, thanks for coming on and sharing today.
Thanks for having me. I really appreciate it.
Hey there, my friend. Thank you so much for tuning in to this week's episode of the Fit Mother Project podcast. If you love what you heard, I have a favor to ask you. Please consider taking 60 seconds right now to leave us a rating and review on our podcast. Leaving us a review is super quick. It only takes a minute, and it's so helpful to us as it really boosts this podcast to reach more people who need this information and this message. If you're listening on Apple Podcast, you can leave us a star rating and review. If you're watching on YouTube, you can hit the like button and leave us a comment. Overall, I truly appreciate you being with us here on the podcast. On behalf of me and my entire Fit Mother Project team, we truly feel honored and grateful to support you and your family on your journey to fantastic health. I thank you for your support of this podcast and of this mission. Also, if you're interested in joining our complete Fit Mother program and becoming an official member of our community, you can visit our website, fitmotherproject.com. And on the Fit Mother site, you'll be able to see our complete Fit Mother program, along with our online store with the best supplements designed for busy moms. And you'll also find a ton of free resources like recipes, workouts, meal plans, and more. God bless you and your family. This is Dr. Anthony Balduzzi signing off. I'll catch you on the next episodes of the Fit Mother Project podcast.